I'm Asia Gray. I'm the Director of Fellowships at the Center for Ethnic, Racial, and Religious Understanding. And in terms of my involvement in CERRU, we have two fellowships. One is a dialogue fellowship, which helps to prime undergraduates in one, intersectional and intercultural competency around knowing more about different people's backgrounds and people who are different than you, and then how do you have those conversations once you're primed with that information. So that's one of the things that I lead and create curriculum for, which I most times enjoy quite a bit. And then I also lead another fellowship on social change, which once you are primed in all of this information about how to have these wonderful conversations and transfer conflict, then it's saying, well, what to do now? How can you use that information to construct and create change in the communities and in the spaces that we occupy? And the reason I sort of came to CERRU, I feel like most of the things that I've been doing since I was probably 10 have led me to being a part of CERRU, from my mom being a therapist and sort of taking me into people's homes who were from poor socioeconomic backgrounds, intersected with different races and abilities. Like, it had a profound impact on me, which led me to sort of joining the Peace Corps and studying international development and gender and education and being a teacher in Harlem, and all of those single moments, having experienced other people's difference and felt that there is something universal in all of those people that should be respected and upheld, and so that led me to this position here.
My name is Yael Rosenstock. I am the Director of Programming for CERRU, and I came to CERRU probably because of, like, as Asia was saying, that I have a history of different things that may have brought me here. And I think one of those things is probably navigating my own identity, and CERRU does a lot of identity work. So trying to figure out who I am and which spaces I belong in or don't belong in has been a lifelong process, and I think CERRU is really helpful with that kind of work. And as an undergraduate, I tried to make my own degree, an ethnic studies major that was originally approved and then not approved because of funding. And so it's always been an interest of mine to bring together the knowledge and understanding and looking for more information about different groups to understand the ways that they can interact with one another and use the diversity to make not just a more tolerant world, but a more loving and appreciative and innovative space where people can really benefit from one another. The work that I do here is mostly events. I create our programming for the year and make sure that we are covering the different topics that we find important to cover, and that we also do education-based, discussion-based, and action-based programming. In addition to that, I run two participatory action research projects, which are it's the epistemology of a system that believes that those who are experts are people with lived experiences. And so the people who should be conducting research are the people who are having issues and living those issues. And so I work with Robert F. Kennedy High School here in Queens to look at student-teacher communication and social support. And it looks like we're going to start another one on depression and anxiety in the teen population. And I also work on addressing gaps in sex programming at Queens College through QC Sexploration Information Group.
I think the impetus behind starting the teach-in series were based on the focus groups that we conducted after the election cycle, where a lot of adults who were, or not adults, a lot of students, staff, faculty were feeling quite hopeless in the face of the current administration. We're concerned about their survival, their existence, their rights under this administration. And so we thought it's important for people to have some context for this not being the first time that there have been sort of shifts in national politics, local politics, and that people have a history of resisting legislation or changes that seem to disenfranchise. That there has been a whole history of many movements through the history of the United States where people have pushed back and resisted, and ordinary people have come together to make significant changes, to change the fabric and make it more inclusive of others. So the idea sort of sparked behind that. Like, there are these robust, interesting, everyday stories that people just don't have access to, and we wanted to make those stories more accessible here at Queens College. And that Queens College in and of itself has like a really robust political history with student activism that we wanted to just remind people of in the face of what's happening presently.
True. And to develop an allyship, standing up for our shared liberation seminar for the first one to help us set the tone for what we're looking for here, which is that we want to be not the bystanders who look and allow things to happen, but we want to be able to get up and intervene in issues that we're seeing and things that examples of injustices that we want to correct, and that work is important in how to engage with it. And in addition, the fact that we often think that if the problem isn't ours, it's not worth it to intervene, or it's not something that we need to know that much about. It's not a problem. And so we wanted to set the tone that we should be actively wanting to learn about the injustices that are occurring among many different people so that we can be part of the solution.
Well, if the buck doesn't stop on me, then I'm not accountable to pushing against these realities. Because I think once we have a communal mindset where we're all collectively working towards shared liberation, then we will eventually see some of these things actually be pushed away and be sort of a thought of the past. But until we're all collectively aligned towards that, I am not free until we're all sort of free, then we'll continue to see different iterations of intolerance or structural oppression occurring. So I think that's also a huge impetus behind the teaching series, a collective framing for liberation.
But the idea of addressing oppression on this campus has been something that we've been looking into how to structurally affect for much longer. And it wasn't a result of the election. And so we had run focus groups last spring, to see what is it that we need to change. And we're also doing programming around that. So this was part of that. Because I think this work is incredibly important, and I feel that for many, this the hate that we're seeing, the very explicit issues that are occurring, has moved everyone into a much more active position. That people who before saw themselves possibly as allies or as people who cared but weren't engaged in any sort of active allyship are now showing up, right? They're here, they're present, they want to be part of something that is better than what is occurring